This is Access Door County, and I am your host, Victoria Cerinich. On today's program, we will learn about the Civil Air Patrol in Door County, and our first guest is Major Hans Shin, who is the group commander. Welcome, Major Shin.
Thank you very much.
What can you tell us? Describe the history for us of the Civil Air Patrol. Just a little background.
The Civil Air Patrol, which is an auxiliary, the volunteer auxiliary of the United States Air Force, got its start in the mid-30s. A lot of aviation was on its upswing in this country at that time, and there were civic-minded pilots and support staff, maintenance personnel, and so on that wanted to help contribute to making the country safer, while at the same time giving them an opportunity to fly. So they pursued through political channels and so on to see if they could establish themselves as an auxiliary of, at that time, the Army Air Corps. And as many of our viewers and you know, the events of the world kind of took precedence because the Civil Air Patrol was founded actually on December 1st, 1941.
Just 1 week before Pearl Harbor.
Yes, exactly. And with that national and worldwide calamity, the Civil Air Patrol found a place, a niche in the country by performing shore patrols and submarine hunting and search and rescue for downed airmen and seamen and off the coasts, both on the east and the west coast. And so we performed quite a few missions during the time of the conflict during World War II. And we're able to sink actually 2 foreign enemy submarines using just single engine, small aircraft, and more or less hand-dropping bombs outside the window. And
well,
they were sinking.
And from such a very serious foundation with our country and with the U.S. Air Force, which was just begun at the end of World War II as well, what has it evolved to? I understand that now the Civil Air Patrol has an education component, a cadet component, and emergency services. What can you tell us about those?
Those three are our 3 main missions for reaching out to the community, and aerospace education is our biggest draw when it comes to the youth in our communities and across the nation. That alongside the cadet activities, which are also nationwide and statewide and local, they help bring the students in and the youth in to learn about science and technology, engineering, math, and of course aviation. And the cadet activities and aerospace education go hand in hand in that through the use of our aircraft and the technical assets that we have, we are able to bring in and incorporate the components of aeronautics and avionics and engine technology and physics, etc.
And I understand that if a cadet makes it through the program to a senior level, then they have some benefit of that to them if they are going to enlist in the Air Force?
That's correct. The cadets who are eligible to become cadets between the age of 12 and 18 can also, when they reach the age of 18, can decide to become senior members. And by being enrolled in the cadet ranks in this Civil Air Patrol, if a young man or woman decide that they want to pursue an Air Force career, they can actually be promoted into a higher enlisted rank when they first sign up. So they can promote into an E3, Airman First Class, rather than an Airman Basic. And there's some benefits to that.
And I see that there are scholarships as well that the cadets may compete before. Are these available to the cadets in Door County?
Yes, they are. There are certain criteria, and these scholarships are usually funded by the Air Force Association or some other charitable organizations that are affiliated with the armed services. And of course the cadets have to demonstrate high academic standards, high presence of mind, and a good knowledge of the Civil Air Patrol.
When you are looking to promote this to local residents. One of the things I see is that the Civil Air Patrol is also a 501c3 or a benevolent association.
Yes.
So the community can get involved if they feel that this is a program that they would like to see, they would like to support with their dollars.
That's correct, yes.
And so do you have activities that would draw people, a specific event where you do a fundraiser?
Yes, we usually during the summer months when we are most active with our flying, etc., we sell brats at the Econo food
Yes.
brat stand, and that's one way for us to raise funds. Nationally, there is the Wreaths Across America drive, which cadets can participate in by selling wreaths to members of the community. And during the Christmas or right around the Thanksgiving holidays and so on, we put these wreaths on veterans' graves.
Oh, that's very,
Yes.
very well done for your organization.
Thank you.
Now, in the aerospace education, I see that you have two different kinds of audiences. You have the volunteer Civil Air Patrol members and the general public. So what is the difference between those audiences?
The difference between the two audiences is that the cadets and the Civil Air Patrol senior members, the adult members, we have specific goals and targets to achieve if we want to promote to a higher rank. Our structure and organization is set up alongside the structure of the United States Air Force with promotions and ranks. For the benefit of the civilian community, the aerospace programs involve building models, learning about aeronautics and so on, and we can take that to the schools and teach elementary, middle, and high schoolers about those concepts, involving, once again, including the science, technology, engineering, and math components into that.
So you work with our nation's educational system. Is that how we learn about it through the UW Extension Office in
Yes.
Wisconsin?
That's correct, yes.
And do you have a train the trainer program or a teach the teacher program, or do you directly teach the students?
We have a teach the teacher program as well as directly teaching the students. We have what's called an AEM, or an Aerospace Education Mentor Program, and that is for teachers to be enrolled, and when they qualify as an AEM member, they are able to gain access to some teaching materials, some syllabus-based training curriculum and such.
That can be provided for them by the
Totally,
CAP.
yes.
Now, how they would reach you through your website or your Facebook page?
Yes, it would be both through our website or our Facebook page, and our squadron commander here in the local area is very willing to help guide any prospective person who's interested in either being a volunteer in the organization or gaining some access to some of those materials to show them where they can find those.
So that would be Lieutenant Gary Peterson?
That is correct.
Okay, and we will be providing for our viewers, we'll be providing the information on the website and the contact information for Lieutenant Peterson, as well as any other information that people might need in order to reach you. But back to the educators, how have you had any programs here in Door County or Kewaunee County? Because I understand it's both counties.
Yes, we have not. We are just at the beginning stages of reaching out and expanding our membership to youth between the ages of 12 and 18. So we haven't gotten to that point yet, but we're developing our performance indicators and our targets for our squadron and how we can expand, and that's a natural component of it.
So what would be most interesting, where do you think a teacher might be interested, for instance? I mean, I see you have a meteorology component.
Yes.
The weather is always a topic of conversation. What do you think? Have you had an overview of the programs?
Primarily, it's the sciences. We do have a very strong astronomy program as well, and there the younger members of the squadron were able to build from scratch telescopes, actually. dual lens telescopes, and I think that that would benefit greatly a teacher in his or her teaching environment also for elementary school students.
And there are some, we actually have an astronomy facility near, in Crossroads at Big Creek.
Yes.
Have you been over there?
I have not, no.
That might be something that is, would work for both of you.
Yes.
To have an education component and take advantage of that great facility
That's a
there
wonderful
where they have the
recommendation.
telescope.
Thank you.
The other part of the education program is the education of the public. Now, what are you doing at the, what do you plan to do in this area for the, to educate the public about this?
We have our Facebook page for the squadron here in the local area. We also participate in the Emergency Services Fund Day that the county hosts every May out at the Cherryline Airport. And we are amongst one of many services that are locally based and provide humanitarian and rescue services to the community. So
Yeah, go ahead.
that's another activity that we want to participate in. And then we're planning on participating in as many parades as we can to show and demonstrate the skills and talents of our youth.
And you should probably look into the county fair because quite a few youth go through there in
Yes.
August. When you are, what do you think the young people would be most interested in finding out about? Can they touch an airplane
Yes.
when they join?
They can touch an airplane, they can, with guidance, they can sit in the cockpit of the airplane and see how the controls work and function. And if they do become cadet members, within 90 days, they will have access to their first flight.
Do they wear uniforms? I see you have a uniform.
Yes, they do wear uniforms. It's a requirement of the organization. And that's to build esprit de corps and to almost very similar to a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout to show that they are part of a select group of youth.
Now, this is an auxiliary branch of the U.S. Air Force, so it's a very attractive uniform.
Yes.
And sometimes young people don't have sufficient funds to get in right away in a uniform. Is this part of what the fundraising or scholarships are about?
Yes, ma'am. We fully understand that it is an investment both in time and resources to get to the point where you are fully uniformed and fitted. So that is one of the components of our fundraising activity to help sponsor those that still want to join and may have a little bit of a challenge with that.
And are there any fees required of the students?
There are. Enrollment and membership is right around $100 to begin the first year, and subsequent years it's between $35 and $36.
Okay. And the last of the three programs, and we haven't touched on this, but this can be very important in a maritime community. We're an island up here, and we're surrounded by a lot of water.
Yes, ma'am.
It's the emergency services component.
Yes.
And have you been involved in that personally?
I have, not in a real life situation, of course, which is a good thing, but if I was personally called to provide that service, I would. The Civil Air Patrol, especially the Wisconsin Wing members, we've participated in rescue and search and rescue activities in Superior. There was an aircraft that went down in the boundary waters between Canada and Minnesota. And we've participated in Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Katrina. And also on the wing level here within the state, when Lake Delton ruptured.
Yeah, it flooded all those homes.
The cadets in that region of the state, they participated with sandbagging, and they were able to assemble almost 100,000 sandbags together with the community to help protect some of the communities there. So.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your time
Well, I
today.
appreciate it.
And thank you for your service with the Civil Air Patrol.
Thank you, ma'am.
We will be joined by Lieutenant Gary Peterson and two of the Civil Air Patrol cadets in Door County. We have been joined for the Civil Air Patrol segment by Lieutenant Gary Peterson. He is the squadron commander of the Civil Air Patrol in Door County. And with him are cadets Liam Herbst Cadet Lavla Scjharpf, and new cadet Morgan Jung. Welcome to Access Door County, Lieutenant.
Thank you for having us.
Can you please tell us something about what the cadet program is and what each of these young people might learn or bring to the program?
Certainly. The cadet program is open to any youth from the age of 12 to till the age of 21. They can join from the age of 12 to 18, but then remain a cadet until they hit their 21st birthday. The program is designed to teach cadets aerospace education, almost anything dealing with aviation, space, any type of career that deals with those. We also teach them the Air Force traditions, because we are an auxiliary of the United States Air Force, so they are wearing Air Force uniforms. They drill and learn military drill. We're trying. They also participate in many other various educational functions all year long.
Okay. And I see they have the camouflage uniforms on, and Cadet Jung doesn't have a uniform. Can you explain how the uniforms are assigned or provided?
Certainly. When they join, the Air Force will provide one set of Air Force blue uniforms, similar to what Major Shin was wearing, but without the blue jacket. It's just the shirt and the pants and the hat. The camouflage is either provided by the squadron or by the cadets, and to date we've been able to manage, the squadron's been able to manage finding uniforms to fit them. So, but they wear the camouflage for various outdoor activities. For dress activities, of course, they wear the blues.
And when you say the squadron has been able to provide them, that is because of fundraising efforts in the local community?
Both fundraising efforts, that has supplied a number of items that we have provided to the cadets, but the Civil Air Patrol as a whole works from one squadron to another to a wing, the various state wings. We will share whatever resources we have. So if I'm short on something but have too much of another, I can call another squadron and we can do an exchange.
So you reach out to the other squadrons.
Yes.
It keeps you in touch for more than one reason, but you can share those kinds of resources.
Yes.
Okay. Now, one of the things, we talked a bit with Major Shin about the history and the programs at the Civil Air Patrol, but you brought some devices and some books, and we'd like to learn more about them.
Well, I'm going to start on the far end close to you. If Cadet Scjharpf could please hold up the first book, which is that one there, yes. That book deals with the model rocketry program, which is part of the education process we use, or curriculum that we have for the cadets. The next book is one of the AEX books. This is sort of like an add-on to their main curriculum, and goes into a little bit greater detail with some of the various aircraft systems. Like that one there has satellite on there. There's a picture of a new type of rocket, that type of thing.
So AEX stands for?
AEX stands for Aerospace Education Excellence.
Okay.
And that is actually a copy of the second book in the series, so that's why it's AEX2. And then the third one, this one is a book on introduction to robotics. So we don't deal just with aviation, we deal with robotics, we deal with electronics, cybersecurity. We have teams that national competitions dealing just with cybersecurity, computer security, things like that. So that's an example there of the robotics book. Okay.
Now, are these books provided to each cadet, or are they part of a library, so you lend them out and get them back?
These particular ones are part of the library, and we lend them out and get them back. The cadets are provided with a whole series of books when they join for the both aerospace and leadership. Those are theirs to keep once they join.
So there's a regular classroom, or class books. There are class assignments, and this, even though it's extracurricular, it's after school or on weekends, it's like attending another course in
Yes,
school.
very much, yes. We have classes both at the beginning and the end. We usually have two separate classes, one dealing with either leadership or drill, and another dealing with aerospace education, and we have that every week.
Oh, so you say the beginning and end of each week?
Yes. Each meeting is 2 hours long, and we split it up about 1 hour for one and 1 hour for the other.
And where are the meetings held?
Meetings are held at the Cherryland Airport here in Door County, right in the airport terminal. We meet from 9 a.m. in the morning until 11 a.m. in the morning every Saturday. The cadets and then the seniors, their meetings are twice a month on the first and the third Saturday. Same place, same time.
Well, it's good to know, so we know where to find you when we need you, because emergency services, we might need you. I see you have another book, and then we'll get to the really interesting things.
This is actually kind of a larger version of the books that they actually do study. You want to hold it, Cadet? Thank you. This is the aerospace, the journey of flight. Once they get done with the first books that they get, they'll be going into this book, and we're using this book in their more advanced ranks as they work their way through Civil Air Patrol. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So now we can get to the things that are fascinating to me. Where do you want to start, Lieutenant?
Well, let's keep it focused on the cadets and aerospace training. Part of space is astronomy, and in the middle here we have one of our 3 Celestron telescopes that we use for teaching astronomy to the cadets. We have the 3 that we have right now, and these are part of what is called a STEM program, and that's science, technology, engineering, and math. There are grants that we can apply for, and we can get these supplies. The first one we put in for was the astronomy. We are now attempting to get the robotics grant right now. So hopefully shortly we'll have a robotics display, that we'll be using to teach the cadets.
When you're, excuse me for interrupting, when you're using the telescope, are you teaching celestial navigation? When you say astronomy, you're teaching the position of the stars for?
Just general astronomy, because the location of the stars and the constellations, yes, those are used for navigation. And we do, in some of our ground team training classes, talk about how to navigate by the stars. But we also teach this as just a part of the science.
Another science program to expand the general knowledge that a cadet might have that help them make decisions on specifics later on.
Yes.
And so which is the next object that you will tell us about?
Cadet Young, could you pick up the large radio, please? Just hold that up. Okay, thank you. Both of these radios are examples of the type that we use for communication, person to person or person to aircraft, while we're doing search and rescue exercises. Major Shin talked about those. During those exercises, we would use these radios for communications between personnel. The cadets also use primarily these, but once they're trained, they can also use the larger radios and even what we call our base stations for communicating with the aircraft. So they do get very much involved with actual search and rescue exercises.
And so when you're using the radios, actual exercises, you mean practice ones and actual rescues?
Yes, to
Okay.
both. Most of the time we deal with practice. Thank God we have not had any actual search and rescue missions here in Door County in the recent future, or the recent past, I mean. hopefully not in the future. I would like to keep them all practice.
Yeah.
But occasionally it does happen. And one of the other things that we do with the cadets and with senior members is to teach them how to find downed aircraft. And this is a practice transmitter. And we can put this in the woods or in a garage, somebody's house, whatever. And when we turn it on, it will transmit the same way that a crashed aircraft would be transmitting. We then use this device on the ground to try and find this device, this radio, this transmitter.
That signaling
Right.
device.
They
okay.
would be holding this up and trying to find it. This is a direction finding piece of equipment. Our aircraft are equipped with something similar, but a little fancier. And so between the aircraft and the cadets on the ground, we have found, the Civil Air Patrol has found many, many aircraft, downed aircraft.
So how long would it take to teach somebody how to use the direction finder?
The basics, maybe an hour to 2 hours, but actually getting out into the field and using it to actually find something, because there's always something that makes the signal maybe a little weaker here, stronger there. It takes practice, and it's almost an art after a while, and that's why we practice as much as we do.
So after looking at all of these, I'm wondering why each of our cadets has decided to become a cadet, and what was the part that interested them. And the one that's the newest one that I talked to earlier is Morgan. And why did you become interested in the cadet program here?
I wanted to do something like this when I was talking to my dad, and he was showing me his badges from the Air Force, and it was really interesting, and he said he felt like really accomplished about what he did, and so that's when I considered it. And then my little brother came home with this pamphlet from Civil Air Patrol, from his Boy Scouts.
Terrific. And you said, well, I can do this, right? And Cadet Scjharpf, what was your reason for starting this extra work that you're going to have to do?
Well, I started, my career that I want to be in is in piloting the Air Force. And one day my dad came home with a pamphlet, and it showed like team building exercises and flying and obstacle courses, and that's really what I wanted to do.
And I remember reading that if you did want a career in the Air Force, that this will help you get that E3 certification or
It's
entry?
actually rank.
A
They are
rank.
promoted to the rank of E3, which is, I believe, Airman First Class. Immediately upon entering the Air Force, they must work through the program to the point of being a cadet officer. But once they have that rank, and join the Air Force, they would automatically be promoted. And I was in the Air Force, that's about a year's worth of work and a lot of extra money.
So that's terrific. So this will help you with that goal then.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Cadet Herbst, what was your motivation for joining the Civil Air Patrol in Door County?
Well, I'm planning on doing something in science, and one day my mom brought home a pamphlet, and it talked about learning aerospace, and that sounded like a very fascinating field.
Thank you very much. Now, let's talk a little bit about airplanes.
Okay.
Do we get in them when we're in the Civil Air Patrol and the cadets? Do we touch them? Do we fly them? Tell me.
Cadet Herbst, would you tell them your experience so far with actual aircraft?
Well, last year, we got to take an orientation flight where we got to go up in a Civil Air Patrol aircraft, and while in the air, we were allowed to temporarily take the controls.
Ooh, I can see you look very pleased with that.
Yes, I was a bit frightened because I am afraid of heights.
This will be a real challenge for you then. And Lieutenant, what other items can you share with us about the training with the aircraft?
Well, we have also taught every one of them how to perform what we call ground handling of aircraft. They've been trained how to marshal aircraft, which is, at directing aircraft.
The traffic direction when they're driving
parking
them.
the plane, yes.
Okay.
They can direct them. They can help park the planes. Let's see. They will be getting more orientation rides. Each cadet is guaranteed at least 5 powered aircraft rides and 5 glider aircraft rides. Their glider's a little tougher. Are none in Wisconsin at this time. We have to go to Illinois, but that is part of the plan, is to get them down for glider rides in Illinois. We also have academies for flight. Cadets who have advanced enough can take this at Oshkosh, here at Oshkosh. In 1 week, they get enough training that possibly they can even solo. They'll be have a solo pilot license within that 1 week. So it's a lot of opportunities.
So what else, as we're drawing to a close in our program, is there any special date or any special information that you think we need to repeat or cover for our viewers?
Well, I think again, to stress that we meet once a week at Cherryland, 8 a.m. in the morning till, 9 a.m. in the morning until 11.
It's on Saturday.
On Saturdays. As far as the meetings, we try to also have field trips, that type of thing. We are planning on a trip to Oshkosh to the EAA Museum next month. In June, we have our yearly encampment. The entire state, all the cadets get together and have an encampment at Volk Air Force Base, Air National Guard Base by Sparta. And they're there for an entire week and learn many, many things during that time. So from there, the sky's the limit.
So if any of our viewers, whether it's the adults who might want to volunteer to help, because I saw we talked about that earlier with Major Shin, or the young people that might want to get involved, they should go to the website, which we're going to provide on the screen, or they can call the UW Extension office at 746-2260. Any other contact information that
they can call the airport. Anybody at the airport be more than willing to direct them, or they can call me directly. My phone number is 495-8415, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Well, thank you very much, Lieutenant Peterson. Thank you, Cadet Herbst, Cadet Jung, and Cadet Scjharpf. You have been watching Access Door County, and I am your host, Victoria Cerinich. Today's guests with the Civil Air Patrol of Door County have really given us an insight into this new program for our viewers. Access Door County is carried exclusively on the Sevastopol Cable TV channel 986. Thank you for watching.